It's late, I'm tired, the Chinese food is getting cold, and I just sat through a really annoying Valentine's Day screening of Fantasy Island. You know what? It's Valentine's Day. It's the time of fantasies, isn't that right? You know what my fantasy is? To get this over with. Spoilers. Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to an all-new Talkin Movies. As always, I'm your host, the real Geno Reynolds. And today, I get the fantasy review of the year. I get to talk about Fantasy Island. Blumhouse's Fantasy Island. They had to stick the Blumhouse in front of it so people might be actually interested in seeing it. Yeah. Fantasy Island. Where do I even begin with this one? I thought January was over. What you have with Fantasy Island is this magical, mystical island that can grant one fantasy per guest. And you have 5 people that have been brought to the island to live out their fantasy, their one fantasy. What would their fantasy be? You've seen the trailer. You pretty much know most of the fantasies. You've got one character that wants to get back at a childhood bully. You got one that wants to play toy soldier. You got one, well, you see it in the trailer that she has a child, but it's all about saying yes to this man when he asks to marry her, and this is the life she gets. And then you have 2 stepbrothers that want a party. Don't forget about the kidnap victim at the first. So they've all won this contest and they're brought to the island and they're going to get their fantasies, and the fantasies begin pretty much right away with the brothers. But eventually you see these fantasies when something happens on the island and then one of the other stories can say like here the explosion or whatever. You just know they're going to cram them all together at the end and that there's going to be some overarching plot. They try to force you into believing that this overarching plot is the scheme of this character that we barely see, that we know that is definitely a red herring, red like the blood coming out of her nose because, gee, she's dying. I wonder if this has something to do with probably Mr. Rourke and not, she's not the ultimate villain. I mean, we're barely seeing her. So, the stories are all going to cram together, but you're trying to figure out, well, who's the villain here? Well, when one of the characters goes into this whole flashback kind of thing where she's seeing all these other people that were there that day and this thing she's trying to fix, she's like, well, I didn't see you. She's like, well, I should have been there. It's like, no, you're probably the villain. And here's the thing. The villain is the bullied one. The one that was bullied for years. She's mentally unstable because she was bullied for years. I'm sorry I'm spoiling this movie, but between the movie itself and the screening and the annoying people I had to sit around, I just want to be done with this one. I don't think anything would have fixed this movie. It tries to be clever with its twists and turns, but there's so many different stories going on, and you're wondering, well, if the island can create people because it creates one of the characters' long dead dad, why doesn't it create this? Why doesn't it create that? Why didn't the villain, whose overall fantasy it is, why didn't she just bring him there and blow up the island? I don't know. Maybe she wanted to torture him, I guess. I don't know. Her plan was stupid. And here's the thing. Mr. Rourke, I'm going to be jumbled all over the place. Again, I'm tired. I'm going to be jumbling all over the place. But Mr. Rourke says things like the fantasies have to live out in their natural progression or whatever. Yeah, are zombie creatures natural progression? When people die on this island, there's this whole thing about this mystical gem or whatever that's underground, and it basically poisons the water, and it's all over the island, and it's what makes the island magical. And whenever people die, they turn into like water, like black water filled zombies. So yeah, um, that's a thing. Uh, so that's their fantasies ending naturally. I don't even know where to keep going with this. Uh, the person that's the red herring villain. Okay, they keep mentioning that Mr. Rourke, uh, you know, he wanted to bring his wife back, and that's his fantasy. And if he keeps fulfilling the fantasies of the island, uh, his wife will stick around. But it gets to a point where this red herring, and that's the woman you see whose nose is bleeding in the trailer. Um, that's his wife, and he ends up just calling her his assistant because he like the pain of having her there, and she's like dying every day. You would think, I'm sorry, he would have let her go a long time ago. He would have realized that it's not worth it, because there's no connection there because again he keeps calling her his assistant. Oh my God. Yeah. Like, okay, why did they even give the guests fantasies? I mean, did the crazy girl, did she say, well, here's how I want them? How does she know what their fantasies are, first of all? Okay, if this is her like plot of revenge, how would she know how to plot their revenge, right? Other than one character, the kidnapped character, the bully, the one that bullied her in school. That's the kidnapped character. I mean, yeah, okay, I can understand her getting revenge on her. I mean, she ends up like saving her and stuff, right? You see in the trailer, it's like, oh, he's wanted you to be my best friend. Um, so she like saves her because she's like, I wanted you to know my worth. And this woman, she ruins her life. That should have been enough. I mean, what else was she gonna do? She ruined her life. The woman had been cheating on her husband, and she ended up making the stuff get posted on like Facebook and stuff. It's like, you ruined her life. I think you win. And she also, she has to put on an act. Everyone, I was wondering at a time, it's like, why is she acting the way she's acting behind the glass when she's torturing the girl? Why is she acting it out like she's the innocent one or like an innocent one? Well, she's recording and it's like, oh, okay, it's for evidence later, so she can go, see, I'm a good person. Oh man. Uh, when they mention how the military guy, the guy who wants to be army man, they mention how his dad dies. And it's like, and then a grenade is introduced later in the movie. It's like, gee, I wonder how he's gonna go. So the movie is really predictable. It's not scary. Man, I thought we were done with these horror movies. I guess they're leaking over into February. I mean, it's PG-13. I mean, I don't think an R rating would have helped much, but it might have made it gorier and maybe a little more interesting. I don't know. It's not an interesting movie. And the screening I sat through, I'm gonna rant a little bit here. Again, I'm tired and I just want to get this out. This isn't everybody, because I know plenty of cool couples. I ran in to a friend of mine from work, and I met his fiance, and they were cool. And I know they aren't going to be the annoying Valentine's couple. But boy, do the annoying Valentine's couples come out in packs. Just they get all lovey-dovey in the theaters. And look, I'm not just saying this because I'm a person that suffers from crippling loneliness, but whenever you're talking through the movie and you're being all lovey-dovey and huggy and you're blocking the screen whenever you're doing it, and I was trying to be nice and I said, look, please, I'd appreciate if you'd stop talking. Of course, they didn't shut up. And then you got people running in and out of the theater and talking all through the halls. It was one of the most annoying screenings I've ever been in my life. Would it have saved the movie if I was in there by myself? Maybe a little, but the movie's still dumb. So, yeah, my fantasy would be that this movie wouldn't exist. Because it's just, I mean, what's next? What's next? Are we going to get a fantasy, like a horror Gilligan's Island? Are we going to get a horror Love Boat? I don't know. Oh, man, no, I'm done. Do I recommend it? No. I'm sorry if you didn't want it spoiled. But it seems like the domino effect of horror movies, of them just getting worse this year, continues into February. That's going to be all for this edition of Talkin Movies. If you like what you've heard here, please subscribe to the Real Geno YouTube channel. Like this video. And if you have anything to say about Fantasy Island, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Until next time, I'm your host, the Real Geno Reynolds. You know what? No, I'm not done yet. I forgot something. Okay, everyone thought that the assistant in the trailer where she's like, "The plane is here! The plane is here!" We thought that was going to be the tattoo, right? Oh, no, 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 no. You see, because at the end of the movie, they redeem Mr. Rourke. And Fantasy Island continues. Lord help us if we get another one. But one of the people have to stay behind. And the whole movie, they said he has a nickname. And I'm like, please do not let this be what I think it is when I heard it. His nickname was T. It was because of a mistake he made when he was younger. His nickname's T, and he didn't like it. He didn't like it when his brother called him T. And I'm like, okay, what mistake begins with the letter T that you get when you're younger? Maybe you're drunk and it happens. Yeah, a tattoo. He has a tattoo that says tattoo. And Mr. Rourke, at the end of the movie, is like, well, we can't call you by your name, so we're going to start calling you Tattoo. I'm done. I'm done. The fantasy is dead. I'm done.